To it.
Kind of one of the oldest attacks on plant-based eating is that, oh my God, you're going to end up protein deficient. Nothing could be further from the truth.
Okay, so being protein deficient, it depends on what you mean by protein deficiency. And depending on your own personal definition and opinion on what a protein deficiency actually is, we're going to have completely different understandings and ideas and methods and approaches to how to deal with that.
If you're eating a well-planned diet. First of all plant cells have protein, but some are more concentrated than others.
And also, some are more bioavailable and easier to extract, easier or more challenging to extract the actual protein from them.
Typically, your concentrated sources of plant protein are your grains, corn, wheat, rice, quinoa, which actually quinoa is a legume.
Most of the people on my channel that subscribe to me probably already know just how terrible you would feel eating a diet primarily based on those foods. And pretty much most Americans already, the majority of their diet is comprised of wheat, corn, soy, and these types of protein sources as it is. They just don't see them as protein foods, but that's actually one of the primary sources of calories. If you look at some of the NHANES data, most calories in the average American diet is actually coming from these grain products and whatever animal protein or saturated fat they usually get is either coming from cheese or chicken, believe it or not. So we already eat a diet based on these foods. Most people find that their intestinal health, their digestion, gas and bloating, autoimmune disease are terribly affected and triggered by these foods. And when they remove them, even if they're not, even if they're still plant-based, removing these grain-based protein sources tend to relieve a lot of symptoms and unpleasant feelings for a lot of people. I know myself, when I used to eat that diet, I was vegan for an entire year, eating mostly those foods you just listed. Oh my God, I was always bloated like a balloon, and I felt terrible. Speaking of bloated balloon, let's just give a round of applause for Mr. Dr. Milton Mills' appearance, because he totally looks like he has a healthy body fat percentage.
Treated as a grain. And then you have your legumes, beans, peas, lentils, and then nuts, cashews, walnuts, almonds, pistachios.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Eat a bunch of nuts and seeds that contain protease inhibitors that actually inhibit the absorption of protein. Such a great idea.
Pecans, all nuts are very good sources.
Could you imagine the intestinal explosion consuming all of those foods that legitimately contain compounds that are intended to prevent consumption and digestion in the first place?
The concentrated protein. The one issue with the nuts is that they tend to have higher fat content, so you have to be judicious.
Yeah, higher fat content in the nuts is not the main problem. The main problem is that nuts and seeds legitimately contain the highest concentration of things like protease inhibitors, digestive compounds that cause that inhibit the digestion of these foods, and also most of the vitamins, minerals, and amino acids in nuts and seeds are extremely low bioavailability. So even if you were getting sufficient protein on paper from these nuts and seeds, or vitamins and minerals from these nuts and seeds on paper, not only do most people have trouble digesting them, I've had so many clients who were suffering from extreme intestinal issues on a ketogenic diet that was mostly lots of nuts and seeds that they were snacking on. And when they removed those foods, those nuts and seeds, their intestinal issues completely vanish. I found this to be the main cause or contributor to my irritable bowel syndrome as well, which I only found out because I was vegan for a year eating mostly these foods. So the amount of the amount of the nuts and seeds you can even digest, first of all, should be put into question. And then after you digest these nuts and seeds, the bioavailability of these of the amino acids and protein from these foods, as well as the vitamins and minerals, are even more sketchy. And you only digest a percentage of the food and break it down. And then once you break it down, you only absorb and metabolize a percentage of those nutrients. So on paper, these look like nutritional powerhouses, but when you actually look at the reality behind how much of these nutrients you're actually absorbing and extracting from these foods, it's not that much.
Your intake, and then you get to your more dilute sources of protein, and those are your vegetables: green leafy vegetables, broccoli, kale, cauliflower, carrots.
Like the amount of any kind of energy or nourishment you get from these vegetables, which actually, if for those of you who don't know, cabbage, broccoli, spinach, cauliflower, they're all actually the same plant, or at least they were before humans selectively bred and hybridized these foods to be less poisonous because they came from the mustard seed plant. They had to selectively breed these foods to even be able to be consumed without severe negative side effects. And even now, the majority of what you get from these foods are cellulose, which humans can't break down because we don't have the enzyme to do so. So we ferment them in our gut, and this is common cause of gas and bloating is the was it galactosaccharides or whatever the specific kind of carbohydrates and fibers that are found in these plants. They contribute significantly to terrible gas and bloating. And this is commonly shared on most mainstream medicine article websites anyway, like WebMD. So, and then these are very high sources of oxalates, which are a primary contributor to kidney stones. And most mainstream nutrition experts, even plant-based these days, agree that oxalates can be an issue. But we're really not supposed to be eating these plants. Like, could you imagine a hunter-gatherer who's super low in calories, literally climbing trees to get these leaves and things and then trying to eat them when there's no real digestible nourishment from these plants anyway, because we can't break down the cellulose and whatever proteins in these plants you'd be lucky to even digest. But we're definitely not meant to be consuming leaves off of a tree, and if we were, we wouldn't be spending $6 a pound at the grocery store for power greens and spinach. And again, the spinach and the leafy greens and the broccoli that we eat literally didn't exist more than 200, 300 years ago because they were part of a poisonous plant that we had to selectively breed to even be able to consume.
You name it. And then also root vegetables also have protein in them. Potatoes.
That's true.
Potatoes,
That's true.
and so forth. But
Those are foods that can actually be eaten without negative side effects. Root vegetables, as long as you cut off the skin and wash them relatively thoroughly these days, and don't have an intolerance that might be contributed to from the starch.
Those also tend to be more dilute because they have a higher water content. So if somebody is...
But getting your protein from freaking tubers, you know how many pounds of tubers you have to eat to do so? It's ridiculous. Especially in broccoli too. Come on, man. You really think you're going to be eating 10 kilos of broccoli to even come close to an adequate amount of protein per day? Or 5 pounds of potatoes a day is just silly.
Eating a very plant-based
And this guy's fat. Let's just be honest. This guy's freaking fat.
diet that includes legumes, grains.
We need to get a damn Scott Steiner video clip in here. He's fat! Look it up. Scott Steiner, he's fat on YouTube. You don't know what I'm talking about.
Vegetables, fruits. As long as they're getting adequate calories, it is almost impossible to become protein deficient. That's just...
Okay, protein deficiency. If you're talking about the protein deficiency that we see in starving kids in Africa, where their stomachs just bloat up like a balloon due to malnourishment, that is a ridiculous definition for protein deficiency. Yes, if you live in a first world country where you're able to go and buy these mass quantities of fruits and vegetables that have been selectively hybridized for human consumption that wouldn't be available year round if you were not reliant upon big big supermarkets. Yeah, you can consume enough food here in this first world country from plants to not end up with severe malnourishment, like what this guy might be thinking of as protein deficiency. But if we're talking about resolving mental health issues, chronic insomnia, sarcopenia, and other issues that legitimately have a direct tie to protein intake, as well as getting enough protein to support lean muscle mass, which if you're eating enough protein, you might actually find you can maintain high muscle mass without even resistance training. I have videos where I go into detail on what I'm talking about there. The adequate amount of protein intake and protein sufficiency is probably a lot higher than this guy thinks. And it's a matter of the subjective perception of what protein efficiency is. But the adequate intake for Americans is something like 60 grams per day, the RDA by the government. And that's like half the amount most people probably should be eating. And if you double your protein intake, especially from whole animal sources, you'll probably find a lot of problems that your doctors think are just like inevitable consequences of human life and aging might actually go away. These people that are into this low protein, plant protein, animals are bad type of thing, the results they get with their patients might actually not be bad if they're using whole foods, because you can easily reverse things like type 2 diabetes and other metabolically caused issues, even things like heart disease and cancer, just by eliminating refined foods and eating mostly fibrous foods, because it's very easy to maintain a healthy weight and insulin sensitivity when most of the foods you're eating are mostly undigestible. They're mostly fiber. You're hardly getting any real digestible nourishment, and so it's easy to maintain a healthy metabolism when you are undernourishing yourself, which this guy's clearly not undernourishing himself. What a wonderful physique that this guy has. You tell by a look on his face, his super low inflammation with his triple chin. Very, very clearly a healthy person, great example of health. The triple chin, definitely an example, a reflection of a true champion and true internal organ health. Beautiful, beautiful man.
Just a myth. I'll say that with one caveat. There has been
What
a
did you
few
say?
occasions. That's just a myth.
What's a myth?
It is almost impossible to become protein deficient. That's just a myth. I'll say.
Okay, yeah. Okay, the starving kids in Africa having a protein deficiency. You see, this guy has a really unrealistic definition of adequate protein that he's using because he's dogmatic and he wants to believe that meat is the cause of all illness. It's legitimately the problem here. And I'm not denying the fact that you might be able to get adequate protein on a vegan diet, but that's depends on the individual, because most people have trouble.
That with one caveat. There has been a few occasions where I've talked to someone who said, He's basically
trying to say, you're not going to die if you undereat protein, if you eat the low protein I'm suggesting, and if you're not dying, you're not protein deficient.
I tried to go plant-based, or I tried to become a vegetarian, but I found that I had no energy, and then I was weak, and I started losing a lot of weight.
Yeah, it's like a really, really common thing with plant-based diets, by the way.
And so I asked.
For me, I had all those issues. Low energy, I was losing a shit ton of weight. I was always taking a crap, but that's because those beans, nuts, and seeds and other things, the legumes, the grains, they were causing, directly contributing to my irritable bowel syndrome and psoriasis. And when I just started eating mostly meat, also non-starchy veg and fruit, all of a sudden all my problems went away, and I started feeling the most amazing energy I've ever felt in my life. And I've been eating that way for over 6 years now, and I actually feel healthier I've ever felt. I literally feel like I'm what an 18-year-old is supposed to feel like. So vegan diet, I felt like an old man, had all these pains. It was horrible.
What were you eating? And they'll say, I was eating a lot of broccoli and stir fry and salads. Well, the problem with that is that's what a rabbit should be eating. And we're not rabbits, okay? That those are vegetables that have very high water content.
You're hardly digesting anything in those foods. That's really what it is. And in the stir fry, you're getting calories and carbohydrate from the noodles, and you're getting lots of polyunsaturated fatty acids in the stir fry, which is not a good thing if you're trying to prevent cancer and heart disease.
Fiber, but
and where's the damn vitamins and minerals in that? Oh, I'm getting it from the broccoli. Like, okay.
Not your concentrated calorie and protein sources. I mean, essentially,
you're doing it wrong, says Milton Mills.
Kind of the food that a rabbit can subsist on.
Yeah, 100%. Rabbit diet. Yeah, because a rabbit's a freaking herbivore or something.
But a human being, because we're such large animals,
because our
need a lot more calories. We need more concentrated protein sources.
Yeah, you know what? Legitimately, look, this is how simple my diet is. 2 pounds of meat a day. And I've been eating this way since November 2018. It's been, 4 years now. Exactly 4 years since I started. And with a little, kind of little experiments with fruit and carbs here and there. All I eat is 2 pounds of meat a day. And then sometimes I'll add beef suet or I'll add some butter or something. That's all I've been eating, and I feel fucking amazing, better than I've ever felt in my life. Competed on a almost entirely carnivore diet in Muay Thai for my 1 year anniversary on that diet. So, but yeah, I mean, and I did add some plant foods recently, like some fruit and some potatoes and stuff, but I competed on a ketogenic carnivore diet. So I'm just saying, I think it's funny. You have to do all these crazy things to make the plant-based diet work. And if you watch these people's day of eating, it's like freaking chia seeds and all this variety. Chia seeds and oats and berries. And it's like, bro, I just eat 2 pounds of meat a day and some fat. I'm all right.
The one issue is that people need to make sure they're eating from all of the various categories of plant foods. And then
really. Actually, humans never ate a wide variety in our evolution. I mean, we ate a variety of what was available in our environment, but we did rely on very, very tiny variety of very specific staple foods. You could read about it in the book Nourishing Diets by Sally Fallon. And we always consumed a, selection of animals that were available in our environment, and oftentimes bugs and insects, even though it's looked down upon in our socially conditioned society.
Protein intake is not a problem. And I can't stress this enough that the largest, strongest land animals on
Look how fat he is. Like, it's just that, you should try to be an example of what you're saying, and he's not.
Planet are all strict planners.
What did you just say?
Animals on this, and I can't stress this enough.
This is hilarious.
The largest, strongest land animals on this planet are all strict planners.
Oh my God!
Rhinos, giraffes, hippos, cows, moose, deer.
Bro, cows? This is such a hilarious thing. All of these animals, what do they have in common? They can actually break down cellulose, which is a primary energy substrate in these plants. We can't fucking digest cellulose. We're not cows. This guy looks like a cow. He looks like a hippopotamus. Okay? But he's not. The only reason he looks that way is because, I don't know. He's definitely not following what he preaches. If this guy ate the plant-based diet he's talking about, he wouldn't look as fat as he did. He wouldn't have 3 chins. But look, we're not fucking gorillas. We're not hippos. We're not rhinos. We're definitely not giraffes. Okay? This is a stupid analogy. And the people who believe this and who say this, I feel like they have their brains stop growing after the 4th grade, maybe. It's a cute sentiment, though. Yeah, guys, you know what? Yeah, the hippopotamus doesn't have any trouble getting protein from plants. Hee hee. Yeah, we're not a fucking hippo, goddammit.
So on. And I also point out to people that Western civilization was built on the back of herbivores. When we needed to pull plows or lift, the stones.
We're not herbivores.
Cathedrals in Europe via pulleys.
What does this have to do with anything?
The plows and the pulleys and so forth.
Okay, smart guy, can you explain to us how the pyramids were built? or well, I guess yeah, whatever. How the what was it, the Bermuda Triangle or whatever, Stonehenge. How are these things built? Well, the fact is we actually don't have any real causal evidence to show us how those things were built. But it's irrelevant to the point. But this is a fascinating topic. This is a stupid argument.
Worth up to lions, tigers, and bears. We hitch them to horses and oxen because it's only the plant eaters that have the strength and the stamina to do the kind of work it took to build Western civilization.
Okay, unfortunately, most humans that eat nothing but like leafy greens and herbivorous diets definitely don't have much energy for anything. They're crying about detox symptoms all the time because they can't face the fact their diet ain't working for them. If you ate like a damn herbivorous animal, I'm not talking grains and stuff. I'm talking legitimately eating leaves, like these herbivorous animals, because these animals aren't eating grains, you fucking moron. You realize how low energy you'll have because you can't actually extract nutrition from it? This is a stupid example.
So there is more than enough protein in plant foods.
And when you feed cows and horses grains, they actually get sicker. They get fatter. The whole reason why we give mostly grains to feedlot animals, and it's only at the last 9 weeks of their lives, is to fatten them up. And that's why we use antibiotics for those animals, because they get so sick during that time. It's a stupid thing. And also, when humans switched over to a mostly grain-based society, that was precisely when we started to see our brains shrink. This is true. This is a fact. Less meat, less animal fat, less of a hunter-gatherer type of diet, and more of a grain-based diet. Despite the fact that society was getting more and more complex, our brain size started to decrease. And this is probably because our diet was less bioavailable. And we also started to see our skeletal deformities start to increase. And you could listen to you can see a lot of the evidence really easily by looking up Dr. Michael Eads and his several different versions of the speech, Anthropaleontology and the Origins of the Paleo Diet. He goes and extensively debunks exactly this with evidence.
As I often point out to people, all protein is initially made by plants. Any protein you find in animal tissue.
Yeah, unfortunately, the protein found in plants is not very bioavailable to us or digestible. And so thank God we can rely on herbivorous animals to eat that protein and absorb it for us so that we can then eat that animal and actually survive and not look like a hippopotamus with all sorts of terrible health issues and chronic pains and things that they blame on detox, like these vegan fucks.
Is actually recycled plant protein. So you don't need to have animal protein. And not only don't you need it, but you shouldn't have it because animal protein is toxic to our systems in a lot of ways.
Okay, so no, the same so-called toxicity symptoms that animal protein's blamed for is also true for plant-based protein. It's the amino acids at the very, very end, potentially turning into uric acid, which uric acid is actually a well-known antioxidant, but people, look at it in a false way.
It damages the kidneys and can accelerate.
Yeah, all amino acids eventually are excreted by the kidneys, which including plant protein, but that doesn't mean that there's no actual human evidence showing excess proteins even damaging to the kidneys in healthy humans.
Loss of kidney function,
only people with previous existing kidney issues.
Atherosclerosis and heart disease. And it's also
there's no causal evidence from experimental trials showing this. There's only correlation data that shows people in the average population who eat the most animal protein tend to have more health problems than people who eat less. However, the magnitude of effect of these studies is so low that these studies are basically garbage. It's something like it's like under a 3% relative risk difference between the highest percentile and the lowest percentile. These studies are so low powered and have such a low absolute risk difference that they're basically irrelevant. But you notice how he's not even citing evidence.
Also been linked to a number of different cancers.
And beyond that, most of those people are all following a standard American diet. Even the people eating the lowest animal protein are eating a standard American diet. And people in our society that eat the most animal protein, it's usually hamburgers, French fries, sodas, etc. And in the NHANES data, actually, there's a UK Shoppers study that shows that people at health food stores who eat higher meat intake versus lower meat intake, the vegetarians versus the meat-based people, actually have no real difference in disease increase. But that's amongst healthy people eating healthy diets. These studies he's trying to reference, he doesn't even cite studies. It's all American diet people versus American diet people. It's not carnivore people or paleo people versus vegan people. And if you looked, you'd probably see metabolic diseases are going to be very low in anyone eating any kind of whole foods diet in general.
So animal protein is not only is it not necessary, it is healthier to avoid it. I actually have a
Yeah, well, you don't look very healthy. God damn it.
detailed lecture called Are Humans Designed to Eat Meat, which is a comparative anatomy study looking at mammalian carnivores.
Well, I've been eating almost exclusively 2 pounds of meat and not much else, even carbohydrates, for almost 4 years. Yeah, for 4 years now. And I haven't had really any issues at all. The only issues that I had is that I no longer suffer from irritable bowel syndrome, or psoriasis, and I'm really the only issue I have now is how enlightened I am. I used to think I needed fiber, used to think I needed vitamin C, and now I'm like, well, fuck. People are clearly missing some information here.
Mammalian herbivores, and then humans, to show that we have the jaw structure, the dental complement, the digestive tract, and the physiology of a committed herbivore.
This is actually not entirely true. And there's a lot of reasons why we're not herbivorous. The first one is just, number one, we can't break down cellulose. We've covered that already. Number two, our stomach acid is actually almost exactly the same as a scavenger animal like a hyena. We have the pH in our stomach of something like 1 to 1.7. That's extremely acidic, and it's such a powerful level of acidity that we can even break down decaying toxic matter, which such as rotting meat. As disgusting as it might sound, the Native Americans used to actually have buffalo colon eating contests, and there's something known as high meat. Hunter-gatherers for a long time would consume rotten meat to kind of get a buzz from it. And so I'm just saying, this is ridiculous. We have clear adaptations to consuming meat, and this is just kind of like a half-truth. Colon size, we don't have the fermentable capacity that a horse or a fucking cow does. We're definitely not herbivores. Now, frugivores, I could see a little bit more rationale behind that. But good luck, consume. We're going to do spend all day grazing grass and, regurgitating it and eating it over and over again. We don't have 3 stomachs like cows do. They spend their whole day regurgitating and consuming herbs and grass and shit. So it's just fucking stupid.
As I said before, animal protein actually causes a lot of...
My IBS completely resolved when I removed most plant foods. So I beg to differ.
Problems in our physiology.
And most people find the same thing.
Animal protein actually causes a lot of problems in our physiology if it's ingested over a long period of time, which is why diets that are high in animal foods are associated with plant-based the diet. The greater the longevity and the lower the risk for 1, all-cause mortality, and 2, chronic disease.
Okay, that depends on the studies we're talking about, which he cited none. We know that Hong Kong, over the last 5 or 6 years, it's come out that Hong Kong repeatedly had the highest life expectancy out of any other nation, and they ate over a pound of meat per capita, per person per capita, for many years in a row. We also know that China, as well as Japan, have some of the highest consumption of Japan eggs and China fish, and yet also some of the highest lifespans in the populations who ate the most. But there's not a lot of really clear evidence on here, and most of the evidence we do have is plagued with confounding variables. So this is just not an intelligent thing. This is extremism that is trying to support propaganda, and the only people who are really going to buy into this are either people who are very, very new to nutrition science, or they are wanting to believe in this kind of vegan dogma. So, or gullible people who think that this bloated balloon is a healthy human.
Absolutely, it is not necessary. And to just throw in one more little caveat,
oh, here we go.
90% of the people that choke to death every year choke to death on meat, and that's because again we don't have pharynx and esophagus.
This is hilarious, bro. I have been eating nothing but meat for the last 4 years, and I have yet to choke once, let alone choke to death. Okay, seriously, what the fuck is this? Leave a comment down below if you know of anyone in your close relative that has choked to death on meat. Please let me know. This is just hilarious. This guy, I'm surprised, hasn't choked to death on his third chin. All his neck fat. I would be choking, and this guy is at a very severe risk for sleep apnea with his damn neck fat. So, choking to death, I would be very careful if I were you.
That's designed to handle animal tissue. If you actually look at the way carnivores eat, they don't chew. They simply slice off.
Have you seen the way that herbivores eat? They literally regurgitate and consume, graze on grass over and over again all day long. Chimpanzees and apes and stuff do too. Okay? What the fuck is this?
Off a hunk of meat, bone, hooves, hide, and they swallow.
I have had no issues eating almost exclusively meat for the last 4 years.
And they have such intense corrosive digestive acids that they can dissolve this stuff with.
Oh, so do we! Imagine that. How the fuck does a medical doctor know the pH level of our stomach acid? He just flashed a damn graph in front of us as to the herbivorous digestive tract compared to a human digestive tract, and now he's inferring that a carnivorous stomach acid level is more acidic than humans, which it's not.
But no problem. All herbivores, on the other hand, have to chew their food, and the reason is that
all day long,
herbivores, such as humans.
Do you really want to spend all day long on the toilet and consuming food? You know what's funny is that's what vegans do. I just eat 2 pounds of meat a day, and I eat 1 meal a day. And I train all day, and I'm an athlete and all this other crap. Okay, but all these vegans eating all day, shitting all day, this is like a horrible way to live, man.
We have enzymes in our saliva that as we chew the food, it starts the process of digestion as we're chewing. And humans, we have an enzyme called salivary.
This is true. Yes, this is very, very true, but this does not mean that we're herbivores. And also, herbivorous animals, to my knowledge, they're not... someone let me know in the comments, do herbivorous animals have the amylase enzymes in their because they're not stargivores. They eat mostly leafy greens and grasses and stuff. They're not...
It's designed to break down plant starch. And as
this guy needs to stop using the word herbivore because it makes him sound stupid.
That process. He's
not even talking about humans as herbivores. He's kind of debunked himself, really, but then gone back and forth with this point over and over. He debunks himself and then keeps going on despite debunking himself. It's funny how many people are watching this that are too stupid to even notice he debunked himself. Okay?
Starts, and it's
what the fuck?
As the food travels through our digestive tract. So the fact that we chew is the sine qua non of being a plant eater.
No, because I chew my meat just fine. And this is okay.
So I hope you guys found this video valuable.
Yeah, it's fucking hilarious. Oh my god. And there you have it. According to Dr. Milton Mills, humans are herbivores and have the same physiology as gorillas, rhinos, horses, hippopotamus, cows, and you should eat just like a hippopotamus, rhino, cow, and gorilla, which according to Dr. Milton Mills is quinoa, beans, legumes, and grains. I had no clue that those animals actually ate those foods. That's amazing. Wow. And we're herbivores somehow. And so we should be climbing trees and consuming leaves for our protein. Sounds freaking amazing. Also, Dr. Milton Mills looks so healthy, such good shape. Definitely a credible source of information. All of his information makes 100% sense. Everyone, let me know down in the comments what y'all think of Dr. Milton Mills, and let me know what y'all think about consuming a diet just like a cow, eating like a cow, eating like a rhino or a gorilla. You know, lentils and beans and stuff. I had no clue they ate that, but oh wow, right? Yeah, let me know if you guys have tried that diet, okay? Have you tried the herbivorous diet, and what was your results? And let me know down in the comments, should I stop eating just 2 pounds of meat a day? You know, because I've been doing it for 4 years. Haven't choked on meat yet. Haven't died of diseases yet. In fact, I feel better than I've ever felt in my life, but apparently I'm an herbivore and not designed to consume to be able to digest meat. So I should be you know, sarcopenic, you know, because I'm not able to digest the meat and all this crap. Let me know in the comments what you all think. Subscribe for more awesome content, and I'll talk to y'all next time.